It's been a while.
Yo.
All right. Greetings, all. Welcome to another episode of your blackly beloved bi-monthly broadcast, Harlem's very own, featuring, as always, your three historic co-hosts. Speaking first, it's the Chocolate Fox, Justin Winley, a.k.a. Bobby Birdchest, a.k.a. Dr. Newmar, a.k.a. Cash Ketchum. Joined by my boys.
Yo, what's up? It's Jude, a.k.a. Sinbad Stefanucci, a.k.a. the habitual line stepper, a.k.a. the coochie chiropractor, a.k.a. the most valuable nigga. What's up?
And our third mic, of course.
I like that. Hey, people, happy Black History Month. Woo! You know, we didn't really say that, but it's all right because we're here. But it's Black History Year. It's very Black History Year. But, you know, it's your boy, Ahmad Simmons, a.k.a. the jiggling Jabberwock jungle monkey bouncing on your titties, okay? And we do have, you know, the good old homie Ho from Harlem. That's all it is. That's all it is to it. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Thank you very much for the detail.
Problem.
He brought it back to the Jabberwockies.
So first of all, let's get this out the way. Yes, there's still three of us. Jude, because of circumstances outside of his control, will not be going to New Zealand. We'll catch up on that a little bit later, but we're glad to still have him. And we're also glad to have
He's lying.
A guest. We're glad to have a guest with us who we all agree should have been on here long ago. He's a high school friend of mine and Ahmad's. He's a recording artist who infuses his music with a thespian flair.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, D Smooth, give it to him.
Come on,
introduce yourself. Bro.
D Smooth, I have not heard since high school. Believe it or not. But yeah, I've been waiting a long time to throw this out here. It's your boy Daniel A. Hall, aka Authentic Intelligence, aka a Brooklyn Knight battling behemoths, aka a serial sensationalist.
Can you do me a favor, yo?
That's nasty.
Homegirl told me that she went to a bar and they were it turned into a diaper, roller skating, baby shark party at a bar. Adult diapers. So, Daniel, can you bully these Brooklyn motherfuckers for me, please?
You know, when I hit Brooklyn, I got you. And maybe we can get to the bottom of it.
Daniel, I'm sure you more than anyone can attest to the fact that there are two Brooklyns at least. There's the original OG Brooklyn, and then there's Williamsburg, right? And
Damn, specificity right there.
There's Bed-Stuy, and then there's Stuyvesant Heights. So
right. I mean, we could even talk a little bit about that, man, just by way of opening up and introducing yourself. You know, growing up where you did in Brooklyn, how'd you come to performance? You know, and what is performance for you? You know, let the people know what you do.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, I am what I like to call a performing artist. So acting, singing, rapping, poetry, photography. If it's in the performing arts, I want to say that I kind of have my hand in it, either in practice or in theory. But yeah, I grew up in East New York, and then I moved over to Brownsville. So, or as my mother would so eloquently phrase it, Ocean Hill, which is just a fancy way of saying we kind of in between the very Brooklynish parts of Brooklyn, so Crown Heights, Bed-Stuy, and Brownsville. But for all intents and purposes, I'll just say Brownsville. But yeah, my family had always been in the performing arts. My pops toured with Ashford and Simpson, and a lot of his siblings started like their own gospel record label. So it was always there. And my mom was always the type of person who was like, whatever you want to do, just do it and do it well. So there was a lot of like home support.
Beautiful.
And, you know, being from the hood, it was a little strange for, I guess, some of my friends to see me not stick on the corner or see me not delve into some of the things that would be classified as community proper. And so it was interesting to say the least. But then when I got to middle school was kind of when I tapped into the creative arts in general. I took an acting class, and that was one of my first passions. And then LaGuardia, which is where I was fortunate enough to meet two of the three illustrious co-hosts of HvO, kind of broadened it a little bit more, just because LaGuardia is what happens when you like put a bunch of big fish in an even bigger pond. So it kind of is like, oh yeah, everybody here acts. What else you got? Or yo, yeah, everybody does something. So to do something to kind of individualize yourself was something I had always kind of focused on. And a lot of the friendships that I had made were in people that weren't necessarily tied down to like the one major or the one aspect of their creativity that the school had kind of like allowed or allotted for them. So yeah, it was.
Did they
really
push that a
just-
lot in LaGuardia? Have your hands in different like bowls or whatever, not sticking to one thing. Did they really push out being versatile, or was that just y'all watching like YouTubers doing a bunch of shit like Timothy De La Ghetto or something?
No, it was you stick to your major.
Well,
Oh,
there
really?
was one teacher who, for liability issues, I won't name. We had a budgeting class, and he like pulled me aside and was like, yeah, like one of the harsh realities of acting is like, if you can do something else, do that thing, because acting is not like a surefire check. So he was like, anything that'll help you stick out on a resume, just add it or like perfect it and then add it. So I'd say like that one teacher kind of like gave me more of like a solidified reason to be like, yo, you rap, you sing, yo, let's throw down some beats in the cafeteria and like just see what happens.
Yeah. Even just to piggyback on what Daniel said, I think the most that I remember, there were some opportunities, maybe late junior, but mostly senior year, to specifically within drama, to kind of apprentice in other majors. Like I know that there were some drama majors that took some tech classes. There were some vocal majors that I know would like pop in on. Well, first of all, there were vocal majors that full on switched to drama. We had a few of those in our grade.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it happened the other way around.
There were definitely, I think it was like one person, can't remember who, that went from drama to, I believe, dance, or somebody went from dance to drama. They just felt like they were already skilled in that major, and so there was no use for them to go 4 years with that. So they will switch to another one.
Right.
And yeah, it's not often that people would switch their majors though.
Yeah.
It would just be like a small select few who would do that.
Yeah. Or
Were they supplementing their talent training at LaGuardia, like having your voice lessons, your main voice lessons and stuff at school, your main dance lessons at school, but then you have your own like dance company that you go to independently?
that just depends on how much money you got.
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean,
But
I'll say this, like I know that for the drama majors, a lot of the kids that like were in our year had that like training outside of school. Shout out Drama B, I guess. Because I know that a lot of the kids when I was auditioning had acting coaches. So my assumption would be just because you got in didn't necessarily change the fact that you had an acting coach on the side. I know for me, like Justin said, that wasn't really something moms was like, yeah, let's just throw extra money at. So I think it was just more of like well, you're here, so
Yeah.
make it.
Yeah, definitely. I'll open it up to y'all. Either one of y'all want to ask one of your questions?
no, I actually want to just I'll piggyback off of just with being at LaGuardia. We did have those opportunities to where we see ourselves as like full blown performers. We weren't really. I would say that there were times when we did have the chance to delve into something that wasn't in our major, like when it came to gospel choir or show choir.
Yeah.
Daniel, I think you can attest to this one. You were in gospel, right?
Yeah. And some of them vocal majors looked at me kind of funny. I ain't gonna lie. But yeah, no, they was like, yeah, we ain't you.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was in the drama department.
You in the drama department.
Get your behind back in the basement where you belong.
Not back in the basement.
You don't deserve sunlight.
Yo, because that's all they were at. They were in the basement.
Niggas said go back to the Underground Railroad. Insane.
Now I know that you and Justin were drama majors, but we know that poetry is, different than what you guys were trained for at the high school for 4 years. And if you can give us a sort of a influence or a certain role model that, or maybe some sort of event that led you down this road of expanding your craftsmanship as a poet / rapper.
Yeah. So ironically, I wanted to be a rapper long before I wanted to be a poet. So I had looked at Lil Wayne and Busta Rhymes and Wu-Tang Clan, and I had always seen like these monoliths in rap, and I was like, yo, like just the way that they put words together, I thought was so dope. And I was like, yo, this is something I would want to do. And I'll never forget, like, freshman, sophomore year, I was like, yeah, Ma, like I know what I want to do. Like I want to be a rapper. And I was telling her about how like we kind of like had cultivated a small rap group in LaGuardia. And she like flat out told me, she was like, you're not a rapper. And she was like, I don't.
Oh, damn.
She was like, I'm not saying that to like trump your dreams or anything, but you're not. She was like,
You said you're not built like that. That's crazy.
Quite literally. She was like,
Yo.
Mommy
She was
wasn't
like-
with me shooting in the gym.
she was like, you go to LaGuardia, and LaGuardia is not a school that like produces like talent with that like edge to it. I'm paraphrasing, but like she was
She
basically
said,
like,
now maybe if you've gone to MLK.
I was about to say that shit.
Wow.
If you were in a more ethnic audience, then maybe you would have some of a little leeway to get into that.
Did you remind her that Onika Tanya Mirage graduated?
I did. She was the first person. I was like, Nicki Minaj went to LaGuardia and she did it. She was like, yeah, but
She said, I said what I said. She said, I said what I said. You are not a rapper.
nah, but she really did challenge that. And she was like, and not to say that you can't. She was like, but what experiences do you have? Because up until that point, like rap had almost kind of like, subconsciously come with this idea that you had to have a story.
Right.
And all of the stories were very much like rooted in like I came from the gutter and
Poverty.
like while I did, while we, struggled the way, I would assume certain African American demographics do, it wasn't something where I could be like, yeah, you ever had sleep for dinner? Like I my mom made sure
Waking
that I
up with
ate.
the rats running across your toenails.
Yeah, and that
That's a
wasn't
Jay
me.
lyric, right?
Whoa.
12 cockroaches on your face when you sleep.
My God. But
Yeah.
also, did your mom like not listen to rap? Like, was that not something that she was particularly into? Because there's other rappers who aren't hard. They are from the hood, but they're not like, yo, I'm selling weight. Like Most Def is not talking about selling coke, and not for nothing, no one got shot from listening to Common.
Yeah, no, for sure. But like also I wasn't as
You harder than
Culture.
Common, honestly.
oh bless you.
Just off
bless you.
rip, bro. You're harder than Common,
The common stray.
bro. Like, I'm sorry.
No,
sorry.
yeah, and thank you for real. But
You
like
from Brownsville? Mike Tyson from there, bro.
You know what's crazy though? I had never, I like understood it though because I could be honest with myself and say that when I first got to LaGuardia, like there was a lot about the world that I didn't know. Like
We're 14.
was like, I was yeah. And so in being 14, going to like a prestigious high school, and just being like, yeah, everything's great. People are always who they say they are. Like life is full of
Right.
sunshine. And I think a lot of that personality at the time wouldn't know what to rap about, let alone write about. So I think I thank her though, because it kind of changed the way I look at rap, as opposed to being like, yeah, I'm from the gutter. You can't get like me if you wanted to. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that wasn't like my lane. And figuring out what that was is what kind of like started my like search into things. And then I'd always been a fan of like English and like English literature, and I thought like words were just so important and powerful, and I grew up in a religious household, so there was always like, yeah, like these words have meaning. Like one of like my favorite verses of the Bible is life and death is in the power of the tongue. And it's like, yeah, it is. And so I had kind of like gone into poetry more of like, well, if I can't rap, why not go back to the source? And so I had kind of gone through high school while secretly rapping. Not that my mother would have been like, no, you can't do that. You gotta write poetry and act like a young man. But it kind of like it kind of turned into poetry being the focus, and then rapping just being something I did on the side.
Okay.
And so up until I come up with the name Authentic Intelligence, it was straight poetry with like sprinkles of freestyles in the cafeteria. And then once I kind of solidified that Authentic Intelligence could be a rapper and a poet, who's to say? And it was like at that moment that I was like, yeah, I could do both. And so poetry was almost like the reason that Authentic Intelligence raps the way he does, why he looks at language the way he does, and like all of those intricacies that are in poetry, I kind of like tried to mesh with rap.
I remember a point, I think it was our senior year, where you, me, and Amir, we went to the Nuyorican together at least once. You and I might have gone twice, and performed. You know, we were on the wait list, like the total, like they didn't even have like lines left to write your name on. We had to just cram our name in on the wait list to try to get in. And I think, you know, anyone who's listened to your music, it's obvious that like there is that that poetic angle, not just to the way that you write, but also to like the music that you choose, the beats that you choose, the sort of sonic aesthetic, I guess, quote unquote, that you curate for yourself, right? It's a very like clear sort of vibe, for lack of a better word, that you're going for. So that definitely comes through. Jude, did you have?
I have a couple. How has your approach to writing changed since you started?
I think the biggest way is a lot of times I used to think that I really do think that I thought rap had to be a certain way. And so when I started rapping, or when I started writing in general, it was very much like a very simplistic rhyme scheme almost. And so there were a lot of couplets in there. And it was very much, honestly, looking back on it, it was real cringe. But I think the more I kind of like figured out what I wanted Authentic Intelligence to sound like, it became more of like, what would you want to hear? You know what I mean? And so for me, it was less about the approach of, let me sit down and write this. So if I'd ever like listened to, I don't know, like since you mentioned Common, if I had ever listened to like B, like the B album, I would be like, yo, I would do this where Common did that. And so then it just turned into, all right, so let me see, banana, okay, all right, okay. And then I would say that like the end rhymes, I kind of got like real messy with. I started to like just be like, let me throw away any kind of notion that I had of what rap was, or what poetry was supposed to be, or what I was supposed to say. And I was like, yeah, let me just let them know. Cause like my biggest thing in Authentic Intelligence, and why I chose the name, was like as a reminder and almost as a sense of accountability. So at the very least, if I was doing something that everybody else was doing, someone could be like, wait, ain't your name Authentic? You sounding real run of the mill right now. And so I used like my name to kind of like force a new like sense of writing. So I was like, all right, cool. So, and this is one of my favorite stories. Justin's friend Reference, who is a recording artist,
Yes. Well,
wanted to do
more of a
track
professional,
where-
Fuck him.
more of a colleague than a friend, but we don't need to get into that now. Yes,
He smashed my shorty.
He'd come to me with this song called Relate. So you have the guy's perspective, and he's really like confident to approach this young woman, and then you have the young woman who's very like disinterested. And he was like, yeah, for your verse, I want it to be like almost like a cautionary tale. And I'll never, and I thought it was the funniest thing. He was like, you know how your mom like gives you those weird sayings and you don't really know what to make of it. It's like, hey, don't go out after dark because you know where you're gonna wake up in the morning. And I was like, yeah, no, like, I was like, yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. And so with that like track in particular, I made it very much about, like almost like I don't know if Aesopian is a word, but like, or Aesopic, but
yeah,
like an Aesop approach to rapping. Cause like, I don't think I've ever heard that. So I was like, yeah, let me see what I can do. And so, it kind of like morphs into just doing things that no one either thinks of doing or is like assumes that they can't do because of the like confines of rap or lyricism. So I know that was a really long-winded answer, but
no,
that's
good.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, we got time, and I think what you're talking about is like what I'm picking up from what you're talking about is your interest in rap as storytelling, right? Not in preserving like that aspect of it, because you talked obviously a little earlier about how you felt like you didn't have the right kind of experience to rap, but you can rap from any experience, right? Like those guys, that just happened to be the guys who were rapping at the time, and it felt the most authentic. That was a shared experience that a lot of people were going through. But as the genre has morphed, I mean, we look at, especially when you look at like the at the blog era, we always talk about like with the Mac Millers and Kid Cudis and Gambinos, like those guys also weren't rapping about that type of like street life experience, in the same way, but they, then they could rap about like, especially with Mac Miller, like the opioid epidemic and how that was ravaging like the white suburban community. That was something that he could talk about and do so authentically, and it sounded like rap, in terms of the form and cadence and all that, but it just wasn't the same type of story. So I think, definitely. I mean, your verse on Relate, a song that I helped write, but I'm not featured on. That's Reference. Just want to continue to clarify that misconception. Anyway, thank you. I love that verse. Every time I listen to the song, I rap the whole thing all the way through because I think it's so, you really hit the nail on the head with that idea of like a cautionary tale, like a Aesop's fable of what could happen when you try to hit on a shorty in a bar. So yes, just saying that your experiences, as they've been, are definitely valid. And even with opioids, we know that was running through LaGuardia like crazy too. The Xanax and Oxycontin. And
it was everywhere. You had cigarettes, all types of drugs, people passing out in the bathrooms. But anyways,
Jesus Christ, they didn't do that in my GED program. The only dude who did though
because they wanted to get their GED.
Nah, bro. A lot of them dropped out. A lot of niggas dropped out, but there was one dude who was a Crip, and he had a tattoo of Crip above his eyebrow and a cross on his face.
Oh,
that's deadly.
That was the only one who was out.
I love that for him.
Probably got forced to go.
There's like a tweet that went around. It was like when Euphoria was like a poppin' thing in Euphoria Sundays, and it was like, why do I need to watch Euphoria? I went to LaGuardia.
We talked about that on the show.
That was hilarious.
Minus all those big ass parties and shit. Niggas were doing shit in that high school.
Yeah.
All that other shit was real.
Yeah.
Drugs and everything. Yes. I know I gave you a question about you as a poet. But I know piggyback off of what you said, but also what Justin said about, you know, rap in general. How rap started as, you know, just like a lot of similes and a lot of rhyming, and you know, we had Grandmaster Flash, and then you had like the starter crew, like, you know, whoever.
Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah, Tribe Called Quest. You could name them. You can name them. And so as time goes on, you know, you can see how that genre of rap is now opening up. And so now we're in the time of storytelling, where you have the Kendricks, you have people like Common, you have people like Nas, just telling a story, like Busta. I just wanted to name Busta Rhymes. I gotta say, like, given, we'll just say, the next 5 years, where and also how will you want your music to, like, you know, take off? And will it be like a certain collab with somebody? Will it be, I don't know. Yeah, like where do you see your music going?
I actually had this conversation like a year ago with a friend of ours, Amir. Shout out Amir Royale.
Shout out Amir.
My guy, sexy bitch.
The fucking hoe.
And he
The friend.
the business man, not a business man. You feel me? But yeah, we were talking, and I guess like I wasn't getting enough streams or listens to some of my earlier stuff that's on SoundCloud, and he was like, no, like, people should be shouting from the rooftop, authentic intelligence. And one of the things that I want from my music is I would love to be like one of those like best kept secrets, like one of those spots that you only know about because somebody put you on,
Like Rock Marciano.
I don't know who that is. I can't.
That's why. That's why. I'm putting
But,
you on
like,
now.
Hold up, let me get my notes open. Say that name one more
ROC
time.
Marciano.
Got you.
Dude's nasty, yo. He's actually one of Busta's boys. Busta signed him like 20 years ago. And he's slowly... What was interesting about him
Check it out.
is like each era change when it came to music, streams and stuff, he sat back and waited to put out a project for mad long, and then he put something out, and then it's crazy. He's like been like a real like Skeletor, like underground nigga. enough about Rock Marciano though. We care about this nigga.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I like. I mean, yeah, but I think more than anything, I want to be one of those rappers that, I want to be one of those rappers that doesn't necessarily fit the mold, and like one of those people that if I, you know, God willing, win an award for it, like people that know me as Daniel, I don't want them to be like, oh, you know, this nigga, authentic intelligence. Now he acted man Hollywood. Now that he got his little Grammy, but I want it to be like, oh, that's Daniel. Like the same way if we were at Pace or if we were at LaGuardia or on the street, the same way people recognize me for being myself. That's what I want my music to encompass. Because I think so often A&Rs and record labels try to like paint artists as these monoliths of, you know, humanness that a lot of people can't really attain to, where you're paying like almost $1,000 for a meet and greet. And like, obviously that, you know, that is to put money in people's pockets, and I get it, but like I want people to be like, what? $75 for an AI show? Yeah. And
Listen,
then like
man, you might wind up stealing some fans from Beyonce. Probably. I mean, you know, they're pretty devoted, but they were.
Those like $3 million a ticket in the nosebleeds, right? Like,
yeah, like I saw that she was doing the world tour, and I was like, jeez, she might just help the economy.
Maybe.
my niece wants to go
but-
see her, and my sister was like,
Guess you got to figure something out, Uncle Jude.
"What?"
She ain't gonna forgive you. She ain't gonna forgive you. You don't secure no tickets.
But proceed.
No, yeah, but I think in 5 years to have my music be something that people can relate to in a way that makes them feel like they wrote the verse, or makes it feel like, oh, he could be talking about me, and just keeping in the sense of authenticity and just being like, yeah, like I feel like he is, like he is rapping for us, or he's storytelling for us. One of my favorite lines from the Notorious B.I.G. bioflick is like, Diddy is like, you can be one of the niggas on the corner, or you can rap about the other niggas on the corner, or like the average nigga in Brooklyn. And for me, I've always thought that was interesting, because like I don't want to distance myself from it, in a sense. Like I want people to be like, I've been to that deli,
Right.
like I hung on that corner. Not that I be on the corners, y'all. Stay safe.
But like a reporter, like the way
Yeah.
NWA was like, we're hood reporters. You know, Ice
Right.
Cube is not necessarily selling crack like Eazy-E was, but he would hear Eazy-E stories and just write it for him.
And you know, Daniel, when I hear you talk, what it makes me think about is something that I might have kind of expressed to some of y'all at different points, but like we did just mention Beyonce, and jokes aside, there's a point of fame that she passed years ago where like you can't interact with human beings. You just can't. Like you're too famous. You can't like. It's a safety thing, and it's also just a like, why would I need to when I have all the money and I can get anything I want brought to me, right? But that also does diminish your capacity sometimes to tell stories, or it means that you have to adapt, right? Like we look at Jay in that same relationship, you know, as this senior statesman of rap, et cetera, et cetera. 444 came out, and that was like his "I Had an Affair and I'm Sorry" album, but like, you know,
Good album, though.
it's a good album. But I think about that a lot. So I think what you're saying, it's like, you know, we look at athletes, right? We look at ball players, and it's like, okay, the average ball player has probably like, let's say they get recruited at 18, they probably got like 12 to 15 years before they should like,
Without injuries.
yeah, without injuries. Before, I mean, maybe you could go a little long. Obviously,
5 to 6, I think it's shorter.
well, LeBron's been in, and LeBron's
that's
LeBron.
36.
That's OD.
Yeah.
He was doing this for 20. He was 18.
Yeah.
Already just like this godsend
Right,
kid.
right.
And then he just.
Yeah, not everyone is LeBron, otherwise there'd be no LeBrons. But the point I'm trying to make is that like we expect certain timelines for certain things, and what we've been realizing recently is that like, well, rap is still really so young in music. So like, what does it mean to be an older person rapping? Is it only a young man's game, or can you be in your 40s and 50s and still have something relevant to say, regardless of whether or not you're a billionaire or whatever?
Depends on that certain flow that you give. Depends on that certain vibe, the music that you're bringing to us. So yeah, you do have a point there. Like when God, who made like his comeback in a way. I think when Busta Rhymes came back with his album, Extinction Level, was it 2? Or I think it was 3. And he had Kendrick on there, and he had Rick Ross, and like you can tell how a lot of times like his flow always switches, regardless of how old he is. He's not staying with that same flow, that same type of vibe. He knows how to switch shit up like flip mode. And so if you're staying with that same flow for what, 5 years, you're gonna be washed up. Like when people are gonna say switch it up, nigga, you better switch it up.
Yeah.
Because people are gonna get tired of you. Sorry, go ahead. No, do you think?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, like, I think it's so interesting because, like, I think on the other end of the spectrum, you have a lot of audience members and fans who are like, they recognize your magnum opus or your prime as an album, and then when you don't stick to that album, they're like, well what happened?
Right.
So I think one of the biggest examples is Chance the Rapper. So like everybody hears acid rap, and everybody's like, oh my God, who are you? And then he does
Incredible,
the big day, or he does Coloring Book.
That was crazy.
And then people were like, oh snap, like this is you making it out, like for sure. And then you get to the big day where for him, he is changing it up because he's like, like I'm married, I have kids,
Right.
life is
I
great.
have a new story to tell.
I have a new story to tell. And like the amount of discourse that I've seen where it was like, well, what happened to acid? Like what? Like, so you just giving up drugs and now you gonna be with your family? What you mean side niggas in the club got his booty on the chin like a clef?
Family man ass nigga.
Or like
I don't see my kids ever.
right. Or like even with you know what's better than throwing away money at a strip club? Credit. And everyone's like,
Yes,
what the hell was that?
No, people felt attacked.
they did.
Right. Like I like throwing my singles.
Different.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to your point, Daniel. Like, this is sort of a thing that I notice with, I think, audiences in general with anything. Like, we can get very lazy and we want things to stay the same. Like, we'll complain about like wanting change, but a lot of times we really don't, because then when we get the change, it's not how we wanted it to change. We wanted it to be the same but different. Same but different, right? And it's like, there's no evolution there. So I remember even about that same album having a conversation with my brother, and he said, yeah, I think people just don't like being happy. Like, people don't like hearing happy music, or especially
loves
not
company.
Yeah, especially not rap. And so it's like, yeah, when you come from acid rap, where he's talking about, again, like drug addiction and nicotine addiction and all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, relatable. Then he gets married. It's like, exactly, smack the mic away from me. You don't want to hear that, because maybe it forces you to reflect on, dag, I ain't done nothing really in the 12 years since he's put out acid rap.
Right.
I haven't even gotten a new pack of underwear. This nigga's married.
Grew his hair out. You know, he got a hat on. He took his hat off sometimes.
He got a baby now.
Got a baby
yeah.
now. You know, she's walking.
And it's a
pay
similar thing that
bills.
we saw with Kendrick's album last year, right?
Childish Gambino.
Yeah.
People hated that fucking album.
Which
People
album?
hated
Awaken My Love?
Awaken My Love.
Oh,
For the people
the,
that were talking about, I loved it.
I think it's a great album.
I would think it, when that first, woo, me and your mama. Not.
No, I understand.
Anyways,
Stay woke.
but it was different. But people did not like it. But I think that's the thing when we talk about Beyonce. Beyonce kept bringing out hits upon hits upon hits upon hits.
Like her or hate her,
And
she always evolves.
she always evolves, and you never saw her in interviews for like years. She was just doing shit on her own, just dropping music, just dropping shit. And then she started going into her I guess we can say this, her pro-black era when Formation came out, and then now she's delving towards the queer community, and putting out that Renaissance album, where I feel like it was mostly for them. So, but she's everywhere. She's like, I'm gonna pick at this, I'm gonna pick at this, I'm gonna pick at this, and like, though you don't see me, just know I'm dropping these gems.
No,
on your
I'm
ass.
working.
Just know I'm working.
She's like, just know I'm shifting the culture.
She's shifting it. She's shifting it. And so I know for myself, and we know that for you, that you're going to be coming out with some hot shit. And so that's what I was saying. In 5 years, you probably have multiple concerts, multiple songs under your belt.
I would like to see
Probably
it.
under a label. You know what I mean? Like you cooking some shit.
Yeah.
We don't know what it is, but we know you got something that's coming to us.
And listen, man, if you ever need someone to open for you, we're here.
Yeah.
I actually do want to ask you, though, speaking again about the future, if I'm not mistaken, you are not in Brooklyn right now. You've relocated, right?
I'm currently in Dorchester, Massachusetts.
Right.
Which is in
So-
Boston, but
So my question to you is, I mean, first of all, you can just talk about, if you feel comfortable, what motivated you to make that shift, but also, what is the scene like up there in terms of art, like in terms of recording, artistry, performance? Do you feel like it's easier to stand out up there in Massachusetts than it is in New York or in Brooklyn specifically, or how's that been, navigating for you?
yeah. So just for context, I moved to Massachusetts in September, so I've been here about 4 months. Well, no, I guess it's 5 now. Jeez, where did the time go? But yeah, I moved out of New York because it was around the time that like things were starting to open up again after COVID. Or during COVID. I guess that depends on context of what COVID is for you.
Depending where you are.
Yeah. And it was around the time where venues were opening back up, and it was a lot of folks that had been laid off because of COVID, finishing their tenure, and then the folks who were supposed to be on the next one that got laid off because of COVID were doing that. And then there were like a long line of people that were also trying to get in. And I wanted to kind of just see what life could be had I taken what I had done and moved to a new location. I didn't know if that meant Flatbush, Harlem, or like Florida. And so my brother, who is a Berkeley alum, Berkeley College of Music, he was like telling me, he's like, yeah, like Massachusetts is a great place to kind of just figure yourself out musically. He was like, a lot of the music scene is cats from Berkeley. So a lot of the scenes I go to are either Berkeley alumni or Berkeley like students.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, like I'll give it some thought. And I made the choice to move out here with him and my sister, who was also out here for about a year and a half. But since coming here, I really only frequent two spots. There's this historic jazz club, Wally's. And they do a lot of their folks do like funk fusion, jazz fusion, and R&B. And so one night my brother was like, yeah, like get on the mic. And it's very free form. So like if they know you, like you just get up and you do whatever. And the amount of like following that I've kind of like garnished here is like actually pretty cool. Especially because there aren't a lot of rappers out here, one, and two, they're not really, not to say it like this, but they're not doing it like me. But
Period.
Yes.
just bring a little bit of black excellence in there.
Out, God damn it. Come on now.
Perky
But
nipples.
yeah, I mean,
That's what kills
it's
you.
been, well, but yeah,
Proceed.
it's been a nice change of pace.
Okay.
To kind of essentially be like, oh, well, like when's Authentic getting up? Or like, yo, Authentic, are you doing this gig? Or like, yo, how often do you gig? Or like, where are you gigging? And so it's very cool to like have that constant ask. Not that New York isn't something that offers that. I think that a lot of people go to New York because it's one of those hubs where like, if you want your dream, you got to move to one of these places and you got to do it big. And I think that offers a lot of congestion to a lot of people's passions and pursuits. So for me, I moved out here just to kind of be like, yeah, I do a little bit of everything, and I'm just trying to figure it out right now. But I know for me, New York is going to be my resting place. So I definitely will be back. I'm hoping in a couple years. I just want to be able to say that I was grown and moved out my hometown. But
sure.
I'll definitely, like, Brooklyn will definitely be seeing me again.
What is something that you want to write about, but you're like hesitant to, but you feel like it's important? It's depending on the timing or the sensitivity of it. Is it? I mean, you don't gotta say the whole thing, but how do you approach things like that? Where you're like, I want to say this, but not now.
He wants to call them crackers.
I think one of the ideas for what I hope will be another book soon. I kind of wanted to like do like a life lived, like obviously we're turning 25. I want to assume all of us, yes. So, quarter century, and just like things I've learned, things I took away from it, things I would advise on other people. And some of the things that are hindering me, I feel like more are about myself. Like I think like part of me is like, yeah, I mean, like rap, like a 16 bar verse or like a 32 bar verse is one thing, but who's gonna want to read like 150, 200 pages like about something that I have to say? Like I'm just a kid from Brooklyn. And or at the very least, like a lot of the advice that I might give might be not so much controversial, but I guess met with some skepticism of like, oh well, what does he know? Like he don't know my life. Because at the end of the day, like for every great review you get like two negative ones.
Sure.
And I think and I think for me, it's just about finding like peace in that. And it's like a very fluctuating thing. So like some days I'm like, yeah, like we're gonna make this book, and like, yeah, I don't care if nobody read it. I'm gonna put it out because it needs to be put out. And then like on other days I'm like, well, I mean, I guess it could wait another like year, 2 years. So I'm very much in that like gray space of like, should I do it, and if so, what? Like I'm just kind of more so preparing myself of like, do people want to hear this? And I think that back and forth is really what's stopping it. Because I, through your interactions with me, I'm not sure if you guys picked this up. I'm very like non-confrontational. Like if there's beef, we can talk about it, but like I'm not gonna be the first one ready to throw hands. And so
Unless you're a middle schooler.
and at that point, like it's because they know what buttons to, anyhow. But
You
I
don't
think
have health
there's
insurance.
how much do you make? All right, relax. No, but I think that with adults, I think we are made complex through a lot of experiences, and I think the intricacies of like what we go through make it harder to tap into either seeking advice or receiving advice.
Sure.
Because like it's like it's always like, and I say this as a like generalization, but it's usually like, you don't know my life, or like, yeah, it's easy for you to say this when you haven't had this to go through, which are all like partially real statements. And so just being able to like weave or at least anticipate some of that to kind of like be like, okay, I can make peace with these arguments, but I'm still gonna write it.
Yeah. I feel you on that, man, because even in my own ponderings about whether or not to, and there was a point where I was putting together a poetry book.
I remember that.
Yeah, sometimes poetry can just feel kind of self-indulgent to me, even while I'm writing it. And I'm like, again, like, who's going to want to read this? Who's going to want to read me writing about like sleep paralysis and being depressed or whatever? Like it's harder definitely to, it sometimes feels harder to market than something like rap, which is passive also. It's like, you can listen to a song and not even really fully engage in it. And obviously we see that a lot, but like for poetry, it's like you're asking someone to sit there and read it and really invest their mental energy and emotional energy, which is a different ask. So I totally understand the challenge there. However, I did want to highlight, definitely before we end, it's no rush, but I before we end, I want to make sure that I get to the fact that you, sir, have a show coming up. Talk a little bit about this. It's a major kind of thing for you. It's almost like a tiny desk kind of situation, right? As I understand it.
Yeah. So this is also funny because I am going to be performing at So Far Sounds, which I consider the tiny desk. Not that they are in any way related other than the vibe that they kind of curate, but yeah, I had always kind of wanted to do it, and I had applied in May of last year, while I was still in New York, and I was like, yeah, it's a long shot. Like, if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. And they reached out to me in January, and were like, hey, we're doing a couple shows. We want to know if you'd be interested in like performing at one. And I was like, yeah. And then like I looked at the addresses on them, and I was like, oh, they're in New York. That's kind of tough. And it's a kind of a big deal for me, because it's my first paid gig as Authentic Intelligence, the artist. Thank you. And so I was like, oh snap, okay, so we're gonna do it. And so I have my brother MDing the entire music. So we're almost reinventing a lot of the instrumentals to a lot of the songs that I'm gonna, well, not a lot. It's a 20-minute set, but we'll be performing a lot of stuff that is near and dear to my heart, and things that I think kind of encapsulate who I am as an artist and what I have to say.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited about it, to be honest.
Yeah, man. When I saw about it, I was thrilled too. I think that's exactly in line with your musical identity, and I think it's definitely going to do wonders for the AI brand. I've got some like fun popcorn questions for you, just like some quick this or that. I'm gonna ask my silly questions first.
Okay.
And then we'll wrap up again with something deep at the end. I got 5 of these.
Oh gosh.
All right. They're just, like I said, it's this or that. So you can just give your answer. You can elaborate a little bit if you want to. You guys are also welcome to chime in.
We should have given him something painful for if he didn't have an answer, like a shot of tequila or hot sauce, or like
Oh no.
or like
or both.
or paprika, like a spoonful of paprika.
I'm actually glad y'all didn't, because I gotta go driving after this. And if I had to take a shot of tequila for everyone I couldn't decide to be on the road,
Oh, my boy's
no.
whipping it up there. Yeah. City boy whipping. So a lot of these are 90s centric because, that's just you. So I'm going to ask the first one. Love Jones or Poetic Justice?
dang. I'm gonna go with Love Jones. That
Yes.
I have to do that.
Say, baby.
Really quick anecdote, or I guess if that's what you want to call it. I'd actually done a I did that monologue / poem for a showcase that I did our senior year.
Yeah.
And half of the folks that were in it thought that I wrote it myself.
Yeah, I
And they
remember
were
that.
like, oh, and they because I think Theodore Witchers is the name of the screenwriter.
Okay.
And so they were like, oh, that's where'd you get that name from? And I was like, what do you mean? And they were like, I mean, you didn't because you wrote it. And I was like, I promise I didn't. I wholeheartedly got this from what I think is one of the greatest pieces of the 90s. But
Yeah, and that's
it's
what
Black
happens
History Month, so I won't.
when you have a perfect marriage of monologue and performer. It just sounds like it comes from you. I thought you might pick Love Jones. I've never seen Poetic Justice myself, but I had to throw it in there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You should do one.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it. Okay.
During Black History Month?
Right.
Right in front of my salad.
When I met him, he never saw juice.
Right in front of my low vibrational plate.
It's a chicken salad.
Number 2. Wale or Lupe?
Really, Wale?
I'll just,
I'm gonna go with Lupe. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Lupe over Wale.
Okay.
Lupe know how to use a sword.
He does. and he's teaching at NYU, so I ain't really mad at the brother.
Do you think him and Spike Lee fight each other in the teachers' lounge?
They pass. It's like Zoolander when they pass each other. Watch your step, bruh.
Excuse me. You're excused.
Bruh.
I'm not your bruh. Okay, good answer. Number 3, spoken word or battle rap?
To watch or to perform?
Both.
Not that I can battle rap. I just
I would.
Both.
I guess both. Yeah, sure. Why not?
To watch, I'm gonna go with poetry, like slam poetry or spoken word. Only because you can sit with the nuance as opposed to with battle rapping. It's almost kind of like the audience kind of like lets you know when you should have paid attention to something that you might not have the knowledge of. I remember this one time, I only got it because I like Marvel. He was like, I throw foreign objects that'll get you Captain America like Marvel Comics with a strap like Spar guitarist. And I was like,
That'll get you Captain America, like Marvel. Okay, yeah.
Right. And I was like, but the audience kind of like beat my reaction because he was like Captain America like Marvel Comics, and the audience was like, oh my God. And I was like, oh, okay, well, all right, you got it too.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Fourth one is a style question: beanies or dad caps?
Ooh.
Oh, dad caps all the way.
Yeah.
I have a no. Let me see if I can. I'm kind of zooming in on this.
Caught
on
the
other
AI
side of the door.
merch.
You feel me? But I have like 20, 30 dad hats.
Mhm.
So
Damn.
and oh yes, it's because I have a big head and
But you got a nice hairline. It's not getting pushed back.
Yes.
you know, but I think it was I remember looking for hats and snapbacks were like the style back then, and I can't fit them. Like I'm literally wearing it like one notch. So I was like, yeah, this isn't working. I need something. And dad hats were like
No fitteds for you?
like they kind of big. I did fitteds in high school. They were just more expensive. Like you
They are
can,
dumb
like, for a
expensive.
good fitted, you're like paying like $35, $40. Dad hats you can like kind of cap at like 25.
Small.
Fair enough. He's economical and talented. The last one, of course, I expect that one or two of you will have something to say about this. Again, going back to the 90s, two beautiful women,
Oh, fucking Christ.
Nia Long or Regina Hall.
Oh, why do you do this?
It's long. Need a long.
So okay, I'm gonna say
Better say
Nia
Evan
Long,
Hansen. Okay, there we go.
but I'm only gonna say Nia because I can only immediately think of like one Regina Hall movie in which, and it wasn't even a Regina Hall movie that I saw her and I was like, yes, which was The Best Man. But Nia Long is kind of like, for me, the woman of the 90s, so I have to go with Nia.
That's fair.
I'd say Regina.
Yeah.
Because
I'm not mad at that.
it's not a bad
That's
answer.
fine.
I feel like she's funnier.
Oh,
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
Nia not funny.
But we
You're
love
saying
her.
if Regina knocks,
she's fine.
if Regina tells a joke, then your drawers are coming off.
Yes. Yes, I'll be like, knock, knock, who's there?
You so funny. Oh damn! Why your
You
clothes
stupid.
off?
You
Why
stupid.
your clothes off? Goddamn it!
See, I,
Stupid,
Where your clothes
Regina. Oh my God, you so
Man,
stupid.
you so funny. Come suck this dick. You so funny.
I would do that for Nia though. Like if like Nia told a joke and it wasn't that funny, I'd be like, oh my God, you're so crazy.
Yo, should hit
Instant tears.
She'll hit you
Yo,
with the dad joke. You hit her with the Denzel tear. Like, that's
Yup.
hilarious.
that was too fucking funny, my queen. Yo, I have one question, but it's not a deep one. But we're saving that one there.
For sure.
At one, I was thinking about it as I was coming to coming over here to give you the interview. But I think about it, I'm like. But don't kill me when I say this. But
Oh,
like
God.
when you did your poetry, when you did your rap, did you
I have no idea what's about to come out of this man's mouth.
I think I do.
did you ever like rap to someone just to get some pussy? Like just
So, it never really got that far, but I've used it to like. So I never forget that. I thought it was the funniest thing. So I had gotten to my alma mater, SUNY Potsdam,
speak your mind.
and I had made it my mission. I was like, I'm just gonna lay low. I'm just gonna.
Lay low. What were you
gonna
doing
be a-
before?
Oh no! Like everywhere I
Huh?
go, like Nah, not like that. I meant performance wise. Everywhere I go, I kind of like seek an opportunity to perform. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna do it. Like, I'm just gonna be like a scholar and get my grades. And I had done an open mic, and then like from there, like poetry, singing, rapping had become what I was known for up there. And I was also coming into like my manhood, so like I think like a lot of women were like, oh wow, he's kind of cute and he's got like a beard. Everything. You know, God knew what he was doing when he let it like fully attach.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
don't know anything about that.
I have used poetry to kind of let's call it acquire acquaintances.
Acquire acquaintances is the most villainous thing I've ever heard in my fucking life. I call them lovelies. You said acquaintances. This nigga is Charlie Sheen.
No, it was only acquaintances because I was still kind of green. So it was very much like oh my gosh, like Daniel, that was so good. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much. Like I actually wrote it in high school and da 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 da. And I'm like going through the intricacies of the poem, and like she was like, oh yeah, like maybe you could write something for me. I was like, maybe we'll see. Who knows?
Write something for me is crazy.
But it was the quickness with the answer. Yeah.
I'm already writing it right now. Yeah,
It's in my head.
I'm freestyling it right now for you. Boom.
Yes, sir. Yes, that was a good question.
Hey,
Up top.
good
There you
question.
go.
Hey, yo. Okay. So, with poetry being, to me, inaccessible, because I personally have not enjoyed poetry because of its inaccessibility with dudes doing, like, slam poetry or spoken word poetry and doing this and that and that. You know, talking like Migos with a latte. How do you feel about that and making poetry a little bit more accessible? Because it is something you do have to engage in, whereas rap, you know, you can, as you said earlier, can just, you know, be passive about it. But how can you make it more engaging and more accessible for people who are like, I don't really like poetry, but then also kind of like taking away its more like, my God, I have the word in my brain, but it's gone. The more like douchey side of slam poetry.
Yeah, fair enough.
I can understand. First of all, I want to say that I can understand where you're coming from, because I remember initially, like, you know, going into poetry and learning about spoken word, and a lot of what my experiences with it before then had been like childhood movies. Like, I don't know if anyone's seen an extremely goofy movie.
Oh my God! Yes. No,
and so for anyone listening, that is like what most people think about when they think of spoken word. And it's like bold and noisy, like a crime. Don't you dare waste my time, because life can stop. And
Wait
it's
a
like,
minute. This nigga recited extremely goofy movie to a T. PJ.
You know. But no, and I think that that in essence is what turned people off.
Yeah.
Like the idea that it's like very choppy and it's usually like super like exaggerated, both in the style and in the lyricism. Like they'll be like chicken wing, French fry. I need to dye my hair, and it's like, what are you talking about? What are you
I am
saying?
a biracial girl.
How did you get there?
And I think that I think that like having that confine on what it's supposed to be is what messes it up.
Yeah.
Because I've heard so many spoken words, like more as in spoken words than a poem with exaggeration. And I think that, like, you know, with any good storytelling, it really boils down to, does it sound like a story? Because I think a lot of times we get so caught up in the way that we deliver instead of recognizing that everything needs to be delivered in a way that works. So like if I tell you about, this 8th grader that I teach, is it easier to go through the story and say, yeah, I did this, I did that, I did that? Or is it like better to emulate what the 8th grader said? How does that differ from my voice? Does my voice, do I like put on a voice at work? And I think that with poetry in general, reciting it has to be something that feels like you wrote it and that you've experienced it. And I think when it becomes too much of an archaic storytelling, you lose a lot of that. And one of my funniest examples is Rupi Kaur. No shade, Rupi. But I think a lot of the way that she delivers it is almost like it supersedes what she writes, because her poems aren't that long, and it could be something as simple as like just telling me. And I think that when poetry kind of enters into a place like rap, and I think that it can borrow from rap in that, like, not every rapper sounds the same. Like, these are the breaks doesn't sound like Lotus Flower Bomb doesn't sound like Can't Get Enough by J. Cole, doesn't sound like
Big Papa.
444 by Jay-Z.
Yeah.
And all of those are different, and you don't even have to look very hard. And I think that poetry suffers from that thing of, like, a lot of people feel like when you've seen one, or when you've read one of them, you've read all of them. I think
When do you think that happens? Like, why did it happen?
I think it's either because of audiences like pre-perception of like, I know what this poem is going to be, and it loses a lot of what it could be because of the eyes that look on it are like, oh well, I've seen this one before. And I think that a lot of people that recite it get stuck in the how, and they're like, how should I say this? How will people feel about it? I go up there, and this is something I've had to work at, but I go up there and I'm like, I'm just going to tell people how I tell them.
Right.
I want people to, like, I want to be like, yeah, my name's Authentic Intelligence, and this is addiction. And just like kind of do it more as like me talking to you, because if it doesn't feel like I'm connecting with you, you don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
If I go, I limit my daily dosage of you, everybody's like, oh, look, it's William Shatner. And there's like no, like, and instead of it becoming a poem, it becomes like a joke, and it becomes a caricature of what's supposed to be real substance. And so, I recognize, and also I think it also boils down to not everything is for everybody.
Right.
So I know people that have like bought both of my books and don't read, and they've been honest with me and being like, hey, I bought it because I support you. I think you're doing great stuff. I just don't like poetry. I like when you perform it, but I can't read your book. And I think that some people like there are some people that don't like rap. There are some people that just don't like poetry. And that's something that I tell everybody when I perform either a rap, a poem, or anything in between. I go, if you guys are a fan of this, let me know. And if you're not, that's okay. Not everything is for everybody. Which kind of like alleviates the stress off of me, but it also kind of lowers everyone else's expectations, so that if they do end up liking it, their guard is down. And so because their guard is down, it allows them to be more receptive to my words, if it's something that they can be receptive to.
Right.
Because a lot of times people will switch up what they say in order to be liked by a lot of people. But you don't want to do that, because that's not who you are. You're not staying true to what you bring and what you write on paper.
Not staying authentic.
Not staying authentic.
You
The mind of a smart Negro, I swear to you, goddamn it. Look at that. Look at you.
And that's one thing I love, is that anytime somebody uses the word authentic and they like have had the I don't want to call it a pleasure, because if it hasn't been, I apologize. But if you've ever encountered me, as authentic intelligence, anytime you hear authentic or authenticity, you're like, there's that guy.
Yeah.
Authentic intelligence. And
Yeah.
so, but yeah, I think that's one of the most important things I think in storytelling. Just be yourself. Like I didn't come to, and I'll use you guys. Like I didn't come to the podcast app listening to HvO to sound like any other podcast that's on TikTok or on the podcast app. Like, and this is me plugging HvO on their own show. I love listening to you guys. I'm a very faithful listener.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because you guys don't do what you should do in the sense of like, oh, well, they talk about a podcast, so they have to, curtail some of what they say. The use of vernacular slang, profanity, because it is true to like who you guys are, and by extension, like true to the culture of Harlem. And that's one of like the most beautiful things, and that's why I have been a faithful listener this whole time. And if you guys are only listening to this because I'm up here, you need to get hip. HvO is where it's at.
Well, thank you, brother. It's always nice to have, sometimes when we have guests, we try to clean it up a little bit, but it's nice to have someone who's familiar with the process and who, like we said, should have been here a while ago.
Ages ago.
Yeah, man. AI, I want to thank you so much for coming on. It's
It's
a pleasure to have you. Perfect timing. Producer Wes just walked in,
Mr. Wet Wipes.
kicked his own door down, and
What's
interrupting
going
our
on,
show.
Waving
you
the
sexy
4-4. Looking like a school shooting fucking architect.
Gotta blend in with the kids.
Blend in with the kids, bro.
It's 21 Jump Street.
21 Jump Street. The Black Johnny Depp in the house.
So, Daniel, lastly, before we let you go, is there anything you want to plug? I mean, we're going to have all your links in the show notes anyway, but is there anything? Not Danny Meddy, but Daniel Hall.
Yeah.
Yo, this is my crib, bro. This is not their crib.
He's lying.
Fix your door. Fix your
HvO
bathroom
brought to
door,
you.
bro.
Yeah, if you guys are listening to this and you need something to do Friday night, please pull up, and please tell me that you are here, like you're at the show because of HvO's podcast. I definitely want to, I'd love to just sit with you, chat with you, listen to what you think about my stuff. New music is coming soon. Don't know exactly when, but all things come in great time.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, I really just want to shout out Harlem's very own broadcast. They're not paying me to podcast. They're not paying me to do this, I swear. I just love seeing black men get up here and talk about real stuff, because it's a trying time for people in general.
Yeah.
And so to be able to have a podcast that you can laugh and you can kind of get the scoop on like real things that are going on.
Yeah.
They're doing a thing, and you guys should definitely get hip, and you can use that audio clip anywhere
Appreciate you, bro, man.
Um,
We hope that you get your rest ahead of your big show. We will definitely make sure this is out beforehand so we can do a lot of cross promotion for you. Come back anytime you want, just to shoot the nonsense with us.
Drink lots of tea. Keep that throat healthy. Pause. Just,
Yes.
drink lots of tea.
Yes.
Absolutely. I got a pack of Lipton in the cupboard waiting for me.
There you go.
Yeah, honey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
honey.
hot toddy. Anything you got to do.
Lubricate the throat. No pause.
If you thank you all very much for listening. Please rate and review the show wherever you get it. Maybe we were 5 stars, and then what Ahmad just said dropped us down to 1. If you want more Uptown love, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the Podbean app. We thank you. We will be back later this month with more Black excellence. Indeed.
Wear your condoms. Take your elderberry chewables. Take your elderberry syrup.
And send a Negro $50.